Hey guys, we're going to talk about canvases today. We're going to talk about cotton canvases. We're going to talk about linen canvases. What are you doing there, buddy? We're going to talk about wooden canvases, different type of canvases that I use. You don't have to record with that. I have a camera right there. Okay. So yeah, cue the intro. Hey guys, I just want to talk about the different type of canvases that I use. Um, over the years, I've used a couple type of canvases. Mainly traditionally your cotton canvases, and another one would be wood canvases that I like to use. Um, your cotton canvases are different thickness. I usually use either 1/4 of an inch thick type canvases that you can get at your local art store, or I use what we call a gallery type canvas, and they're about almost 2 inches thick. You can find at your local art supply store. I got these ones at Curry's in 2 packs, like a 12 by 12. And so yeah, there's two different types of canvases that I like to use. Some people use thicker type of canvas, but for minimal effect, I think 1.5 is thick enough, pretty much. Um, now I get these canvases like this already gessoed, so you can see that they already say that they're gessoed generally. But what happens is when I get home, I like to also apply a layer of gesso on these canvases. Anyways, because what happens is I like to sand them down after, and because the canvases have such a thick tooth, you'll see when you rub your fingers across them, there's a generally thicker tooth to them because of the type of paper that is, of course. But I generally like to put gesso on top first, and then I sand it down after the layer of gesso is dry. And gesso is this stuff that you can also get from your local art store. Basics, acrylic basics, and I'll put a link below to all the materials that I use here, and a link to the stores that I like to buy from. So gesso, what is gesso? Gesso is a primer. Gesso is generally a primer, just like you prime your walls. When one primes their walls, or used to prime their walls, they primed it. Why? Because the paint was easy to stick on and to adhere to. For this type of work, for canvas, for painting, there's a couple rules of thumb. A couple reasons why you gesso. You gesso A to so that the paint sticks to it over time and adheres to it for many years. And B, I guess the gesso, what it does is it protects it from cracking, right? So the gesso would soak up the paint, soak up the chemical of the paint, the and it'll over time it won't crack. That it prevents it from cracking. If you don't put any gesso, well, you spend more paint. First of all, you have to put a lot more paint, a lot more layers paint on your canvas or on wood, for example. I'll talk about that in a second. And then it's just going to crack over time in many years to come. That's why you see a lot of the Renaissance artists. Some of their work you'll see over time it cracks, right? So they didn't have all the chemicals and stuff that we have nowadays to use to protect our paintings over time. So yeah, another thing I like to do is wood. Now wood. Oh, before I go there, there's another type of canvas that I use. Linen, 100% linen. So you have one cotton and two linen type of canvases. Linen is more expensive. First, it's also more expensive. And why? Because the texture is more fine. You'll find, for me, that's what I know. I mean, the texture is a more fine quality, and the paint generally you can do finer detail on it. Now, why do I sand it? Why do I add gesso and I sand it down as well on the canvases? Is I do like to use a little bit more finer detail in my work. I don't know if you notice Kingsley right here. It's a bit of more fine detail on there. That's on a gallery canvas, and this one back here, that's also on a gallery canvas, just a regular canvas. I like to do a little bit more finer detail that way. It's easier for me to prime it and sand it and give it less of a tooth. Another type of canvas I like to use is wood canvas. This one here I've already primed uh, once over, or a couple of times over, and you can see the back. See, this is birchwood. So you can get this at your local art supply store, birchwood, but it does come unprimed and untreated. So what you have to do is you have to prime it and treat it first. So what I like to do is I put a lot more effort into my wood paintings. There's a lot more beginning stages that goes and that's involved in it. So what I like to do is I like to do 4 layers of gesso, 1 layer of gesso in the beginning, wait for it to dry at least 24 hours. 24 hours, I sand it down. Then I go ahead and put another layer of gesso, wait 24 hours, sand it down, paint it, wait another 24 hours, sand that down. So you can see one of these paintings, of course, takes a long time before you even start painting. So many layers go into this. Some people like to do 7 or 8 layers of gesso, but I think 4 layers is enough for me. Just as long as you don't see the fine wood and the fine wood in the underneath anymore, like this one, you can't see it really anymore. That's enough for me. That's what I like generally. They're very light, and cost wise, they're probably about the same cost, give or take a few bucks. Sometimes for wood versus the canvas that you use. Sometimes the wood is cheaper and sometimes not, depending on the size that you get. Now, another way, a cheaper way to go with wood would be to buy your wood from your local hardware store, say from Home Depot. And so what I do is I get um, a big sheet of hardboard. So it's a big sheet of hardboard, and it looks like this when you get it. But the sheet of hardboard is, and you'll see a line in here. See, that's because I put a line in and I cut. I asked the guy at Home Depot to cut the exact sizes that I need for the hardboard, and so I'll cut them various sizes that I want, and then I just bring them home that way. And then when I get home, I do gesso them. I layer them and I treat them again, layers and layers of gesso before I go or even start any artwork at all. And then you can see this one, for example, is the first stage of a drawing that I'm doing. So I'll work on it, put the drawing on top of the gesso. Sometimes I treat it where I put a layer of acrylic wash. I just wash it with the first layer of acrylic wash, and then I'll draw on top of that, or just white. I just draw on top of the white. It depends on the type of painting and the colors, how much color I use, and how many values I use, and that's another complete video explanation. So hardwood, you can see this one. This one's already been painted on hardwood. This one, for example, you can see it's all on hardwood floor. This one is just like a barn house I worked on. Off the picture, and that is also on the hardwood. They are noticeably heavier. So when you paint on hardwood, you have to think about, you know, you can frame them, but they are gonna weigh a ton. So I don't generally, after learning about the weight differential, paint too much on hardwood panels anymore, mainly because of the weight, just because of the weight. But the treatment, like the texture and stuff, terrific, terrific stuff. If you want to do fine artwork detail, again, you just sand it down over and over and over again, gesso over and over, and that's what I do. The birch wood that I like to do, I like to paint on, very light. Like this one is so light. You can frame them. See, this one here is not so thick. Uh, this one here is about an inch, maybe less than an inch. You can frame this one, or you can't, or you don't have to frame it really. And you can see the back. See the back. And then the front, see, this one is ready to go. I'm gonna paint a new picture on this one. It's just like a wash of acrylic. I use burnt umber. I put burnt umber or raw umber, and then a little bit of white and a little bit of blue for this one, and I just paint a wash with a lot of water, and then I take a rag and I just rub off all the paint, and I prep my surface that way. Why do I do that? That's in another video. And that's basically it. The 2 or 3 different types of surface paints that I do my painting on. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. It's very important that you help me by subscribing to my channel. If you like my video, please subscribe. I would love for you to be a part of my channel. My channel is going to be great this year. I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff, canvas types already. You can ask me anything you want, any questions about this and materials, and how the paints work on top of the material if you like, how they behave. Ask me anything you want underneath the comments below. So thank you for watching. I look forward to making many more videos this year and talking about my work, especially my work in oils, and showing you my stages and the stage processes, and how easy it is for anybody to learn how to paint and learn how to do this beautiful craft that I love so much. Thing working. All right. So this is my first video. We're going to talk about canvases, different types of canvases that I use. We're going to talk about paper cotton canvas, just regular cotton canvas. We're going to talk about linen canvas. We're going to talk about wooden canvases. Why do I do that? That's in another video. Go. That's it?
Daddy, I'm too... Oh.
Thanks. Okay. All right. What do we say? Please
subscribe down below.
So that you can what? Learn
painting, more painting.
Wait. Hold on. So what did I talk about today? I talked about priming the canvases, right? Why do I prime the canvases?
So that it lasts forever.
So they last forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Well, we tried to make them last forever.
Tried.
They don't last forever, but they will if people take care of them, right? And love them, like I do, and we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thanks for watching.
Please subscribe.
It's very
down
important.
Below.
Very important. Very important. Okay. Thanks, everybody.